Thank you, everybody, for joining Coach Menachem on this beautiful Sunday night, May 18th, 2025. And it's a real honor and a pleasure that everybody's here. Tonight is year 231. We're in our 6th year. And I want to thank everybody for posting on the WhatsApp statuses, letting people know about it, letting their friends and family. And as we say, it's a Sichas Chaverim, a place to really talk through issues, a place to really get clarity. And I just have to tell Menachem, even I met somebody one of the early Coach Menachem days that had a amazing story on Coach Menachem. Actually, just met him. It was powerful. So it's good that every once in a while, me and Menachem get this little nachas. When you see the impact. We know it does impact. We know logically, but sometimes when you see it, it's like it's a bracha. Sometimes you get to see the nachas. So anyway, please, if anybody wants to join our WhatsApp status, you can WhatsApp us at 732. 314-1710. I could send the community chats. You can be part of it. You go to menachemberfel.com. All the people who are watching the replay of this on YouTube, you can click on the like button, click on the subscribe button if you want to get all the videos every week. And thank you to all the advertising sponsors, Liquid Scoop here in Liquid, Ellie and Ariel from Blacktown Central, and Chayla Kaufman from JC, the Jewish Contact Network. Again, if anybody's here the first time, every Sunday night at 9 p.m. Eastern Time, we have a show with different button, therapist. The best of the best have come on to this program to really help people. Menachem next week is going to be the Sunday before Shavuos. We're going to be doing a big share. Hopefully, you'll be on the Inyan of Shavuos, and we have a surprise guest, rabbi guest. So I can't announce it yet because it's such a surprise. I don't know him myself yet. That's how big of a surprise it is. So as soon as the surprise is megala, we're going to let the il know. But we're working on it very strong, and hopefully we're going to get to Menachem the right shliach v'daven. Hashem sends the right shliach before Shavuos to be makabel Shavuos b'ahava. Tonight's share is 231 with Dr. Jacob Freedman from Eretz Yisrael live. And we're going to do the Gematria right now with Rabbi Ernoyach Fried, the Gematria for 231.
Shalom Uvracha, everyone, to Zoom share number 231. What's really going on in our minds? To reflect what's going on in our minds, we really have to dig in deep to see how we are perceived in the eyes of Hashem and in the eyes of people, to see what's going on in our minds. Which leads us up to tonight's Gematria of 231, which equals Zeh Be'enei Hashem Va'adam. This is in the eyes of Hashem and mankind.
See, yeah, Dr. Freedman, you see, we have it all figured out here. We know when you should come on.
Not bad. I was thinking, let's get Raul with Coach Menachem.
Okay, let's get started. We have a lot to cover. We have limited time with Dr. Freedman, so let's hop around. Coach Menachem, Sunday night. Why are we here tonight?
Amazing. I first want to welcome everyone back. Welcome to another Let's Get Real with Coach Menachem, number 231, and welcome Dr. Freedman. It's an honor. And it's not the first time. You know what we do here, and most of you know what we're doing. Tonight's going to be a little different, more like a conversation. But talking about our minds gets a little tricky because our mind is a very powerful tool. It can take us many places and do many things with us, and not always are we in control, and not always are we aware. So Baruch Hashem, the past few years, we've been working on bringing awareness, every week a different topic, and discussing different things, whether in the mental health field or self-development, learning new things, new ideas for the Yiddish Olam, things that sometimes are not spoken about, by putting it on the table and bringing the awareness. Many times people are at home dealing with their challenges and they're not aware that there are others out there that can help. Sometimes they think I'm the only one in the world that's dealing with this issue. And I guess it's over. Here I am. I'm the only one with this issue, and there's nothing I can do about it. But slowly you find out a link to a Zoom and you decide to listen and you're like, wow. And somebody shares and it sounds just like what you're going through. You're like, well, I thought I'm the only one. And you hear that they're asking. And then the presenter, somebody who has ideas, you can listen to the answer, reach out. So you get a little bit of You can take a deep breath. You can like, okay, so let me see. Let me make that phone call. Let me go. Let me figure this out. But again, talking about the mind, mental health, how do we know? Many times you go to a speech, you listen to people and they're encouraging people. You can do it, continue, keep on pushing. But sometimes you feel like, I can't. No, I can't. I don't know how to eat this. I don't know how to hold this. It doesn't work for me. So what do I do then? And to understand that it's okay to sometimes feel that I can't. We all have ups and downs. We're all human. And not every day is it a shiny, sunny, bright day. Sometimes it's raining. Sometimes it's cold. You're not always in the mood, which is moods. Some are in touch in the moods, some are not, but it makes sense. Is something wrong with me by feeling these ups and downs? Well, maybe it's normal. So that's really the question. When is it normal and when should I make a phone call to a friend? When should I call somebody who can listen to me? When should I call a professional, maybe a therapist or a psychiatrist? Talking about medication. Medication, nobody wants to talk about it. Is something wrong if I have to take medication? I'll do, running away from it and then living with the problem. So these are very, very good questions. And hopefully tonight, Dr. Freedman, these questions we're going to be asking you, you're going to help us out a little bit to understand what's normal, quote unquote normal, what's running after this. People are running to make a lot of money and people are busy. And if they can't, they feel depressed. Is that normal or not? When should they reach out? To who should they reach out? And what type of help can they get? Mitzvah Hashem. So looking forward to hearing wisdom from the Olam and from Dr. Freedman and Mitzvah Hashem. We should have a great conversation.
Okay.
Coach Menachem, thanks so much for having me.
I'm excited.
Let me just open it up, Dr. Freedman. Again,
Yeah, please.
here, I don't know if anybody knows Dr. Freedman. I'll read a short bio. I'm sure it's much more updated. Dr. Jacob L. Freedman is a psychiatrist and a business consultant in Israel. He's the author of Off the Couch. He used to read the Mishpacha magazine. He wrote every week the articles. He wrote a bunch of books, and Dr. Freeman can be found learning Torah in the Old City or hiking outside the hills of Jerusalem. He can be easily reached via drjacobfreedman.com. And Dr. Freedman has been a regular on our program. We're always honored to have him. We're close friends now. We're buddies. He's my therapist, I'm his therapist. We share problems together. And it's an honor to have him here. And Dr. Freedman, take it away.
Well, it's really an honor to be your friend. I think you can tell the true story, which is that we were both busy going bald together, but you took the Rogaine and put it up there. I put it here. So, that's a little bit about our story together.
We met in Hair Club for Men.
Exactly. I'm not just the president, I'm also a client. So here we are, some of us still counting Sphera and not shaving as it goes. And it's an honor to be here. We have to have these open and honest conversations to normalize what's normal and to not pathologize things that aren't necessarily normal, but rather just to have it out. Because again, we can't have solutions unless we have problems, and we don't have problems unless we talk about them. And here we are. I'm grateful to wake up at 3:30 in the morning in order to do this. Of course, that means that I can't say tikkun atzot, tikkun aklali, other sorts of tikkunim, and dunk in the mikvah 613 times. But nonetheless, it's still a meaningful experience to be here chatting with the two of you. So when I said we were going to do this, when we were talking at Kesher Nafshi, Rav Asher, you said, what are we going to talk about? I said, I don't know. Let's think about something funny. Let's think about something interesting. Let's think about how to do it slightly different. And you said, maybe we'll talk about psychedelics. And I said, you can find other people that'll have less boring thoughts on that than I will. And so I said, what if I come on and I grill you guys about, what is Coach Menachem and how do you guys get here? And you said, maybe we could do that. And I said, well, that's probably what we'll end up doing unless you have a better idea. So here we are. I want to find out, not how did I end up doing psychiatry? I've said that story before, although I'll say it again if you want me to. But I want to know, how do you guys end up doing Coach Menachem? Don't you have anything better to do on Sunday night? Don't you want to play poker? Don't you want to go ahead and practice for male synchronized swimming? Like, isn't there anything interesting that you guys should be doing besides this? Don't you want to log on to MDY or something? Like, what's going down? Why are you guys doing this? Coach Menachem, the early days, what are you guys doing here?
Menachem, you'll go first, I'll go first. It's getting flipped.
Go for it. I think people know our story.
So the fake story that I tell everybody, but it's really the real story, is that I really need a lot of therapy. And unfortunately, it's very expensive. So I figured if I do this every week and I get another therapist, I could save a lot of money.
And it worked.
Not bad.
And the true story is that we started this during COVID. People were going through a lot of our chaverim, a lot of our friends, a lot of people were just going through it's a very scary time, especially in the very beginning. Its first month or two was severely, people were very locked up and people felt like it was really the end of days. And this was a way to connect because we really couldn't connect. And then it just really spiraled into really being open and vulnerable and having these conversations of just, we all know the problems. We all feel the problems. We all need a place to discuss the problems. Unfortunately, there was no place that we could do that. And actually, me and Menachem, who are friends from before, used to have these very deep, vulnerable conversations together. We said, wouldn't it be cool if we had these conversations with the whole world? Just being open and honest about what we're dealing with and issues that people deal with, and just people being open and honest with it versus everybody living in the taboo box and feeling uncomfortable. And that itself is in itself healing. That's a healer,
Wow. That's pretty heavy. Okay, so this is internet-based group therapy for you guys.
Yes, there's a group therapy. This is
the biggest support group.
Yeah.
Wow. All right, that's pretty impressive. Much better than what happens at the locker room at the YMCA. So not too bad at all. Can I ask then, why don't you guys find Irv Yalom and schlep him out of whatever sort of situation he'd found himself in? Why don't you find the original guy? Like, which group therapy guys have you had on here? I'm just curious.
Every therapist is sharing every rabbi, every therapist, any person who's coming on is sharing their wisdom, right? You have many years of knowledge of dealing with people that are mentally not well, right? A lot of people coming here listening don't have that knowledge. Knowledge is not like so free for everybody. When you live in something and somebody dedicates their life to divorce, somebody dedicates their life to suffering, somebody that dedicates their life to illness, they have 20 years or 30 years of very deep wisdom that they could share with the world. And people, even though they're not, let's say somebody's coming here tonight and they're feeling depressed or they're feeling that they need something, they're not sure where they're holding, they get to tune in, listen to you, and get hadracha and take it to the next step. They get to hear the concepts. It's putting it in front of them. It's like there's a concept that exists. So every week we're putting out these huge concepts, and people are either, for the people that need it, it's grasping towards them.
Okay, so let's ask a practical question, and I meant that as a serious thing. The original group therapy guy was Irv Yalom, right? So Irv Yalom is a proud Epicurus in that he actually studied the philosophy of Epicurus, which is interesting. But he did some fantastic stuff in psychotherapy. Now we're talking about for 50 years, running the program in psychiatry at Stanford and writing a bunch of books over the years about the practice of psychiatry and psychotherapy. But he was really the guru of group psychotherapy back in the day. So it'd be interesting if he's still around to see if you could find him at some point.
The truth is really, every person has what to share. Every person that's been in the industry of either therapy or abundance or whatever the people we had on, they have deep, vast knowledge in that thing that they're dealing with. So it's not like they This is what they do. They do group therapy. We're taking that knowledge and giving out that legend that they have so people can understand it.
Well, I'd even push you further. I'd say everybody who's knowledge and humanity is what to share about humanity, and we all have knowledge and
Right.
humanity. We all have our own story, which is very powerful. You know, as you're pointing out, everybody who's been through a divorce, everybody's been through a gambling problem, everybody's been through challenges with their kids, everybody's been through challenges as a kid. Everybody has what to share. Everybody who has been on a diet and failed, everybody who's started an exercise regimen and failed, everybody who keeps on getting free Gemaras because they drop out and then restart with Rabbi Stefanski or whatever it might be. We all have our struggles. So one of the challenges that we know exists in our community is trying to find venues to have these honest conversations. But I would wonder what percentage of folks that tune into these you think have a experience whereby they go on to have a life-changing experience, like the one that you alluded to? What percentage of people that tune in have never started a therapeutic process and then will go ahead and find a therapist and do the formal work they need to do? What percentage of people come here and then they hear a talk on addiction and now they actually show up at an AA meeting? What percentage of folks, you know, were borrowing recklessly and then they hear a talk on, you know, honest money matters and then they end up actually going to debt consolidation, for example? I know that I just did the Larry King thing where you ask like 6 questions in aggregate, but this would be a question that I've had. You know, are you guys tracking metrics? Like, how does that actually look in terms of the feedback and just the personal experiences that you guys have at Bagel Bites?
So again, we can't track, and I always tell Menachem, like, there's a million things that happen, and sometimes we are zoicha to see. I was on a plane 3 weeks ago, and I'm sitting, and there's a from guy I'm flying from North Carolina, and he's sitting there. He says, "Oh, Shmarnas Shmuz." He said, "A few years ago, you had a guy who spoke about Shalom Bayis. Are you sure?" I said, "Yeah." And he told you name the guy. I said, "Yeah." He said, "I'll give you a little story that you don't know about." I said, "Let me hear." He said, he was struggling in his marriage, and a few of his neighbors were struggling in his marriage. After he came onto the share, he comes every few weeks to his neighborhood, and he gives a talk for these young married couples. It's been 6 years. It's been 4 years. 4 years, he said. And he said he doesn't know how many marriages it saved, but it made a tremendous, his chevra of guys are working every month on their marriage on this. So I don't have statistics, I don't have numbers. There's no way to track it. It's more, we put it out, and whoever comes here, and there's there's thousands of people that come on a regular Sunday night, and tens of 20 to 50 or 100,000 that listen to it afterwards. So it's not a story. It's not a memorable moment. It's not like, oh, Dr. Freedman said the best joke ever. There's a lot of teichen in it. And
That was definitely not true. I probably said the corniest joke ever.
probably, I didn't want to go that way, but yes. So there's no way to track it, but the tracking is that if people are coming and I keep on getting these tidbits here and there, I know that it's the right thing. So we just do our shtadlis and do our part. You can't always, not everything is like a website with Google with ads and we could see what percentage the conversion are and our peacocks are. It's more that we're doing our part and we feel that it's helping a lot of people. And
There are many stories, and people send their feedback to coachmenachem@gmail.com. We've had many people send feedback, which is amazing. But you know the line that people say, if we only help one person, it was Kedai. So all the questions that you ask, whether it's in Shalom Bayis,
somebody just texted me. We had a share on Tanya. Somebody comes and gives a daily Tanya share. I heard your share on Tanya, and it motivated me to take action, which I did.
whether it's in Shalom Bayis, whether it's Hasidus, whether it's in self-development, any topic that you take, we've helped one person. And we know that from the feedback. And
Helping one person.
for those listening, you can send your feedback, send us your story to coachmenachem@gmail.com and let us know how this impacted you. But I know many that they tell me, Menachem, since I heard that, he's my Rebbe. With Rabbi Brog, since I heard him, he's my Rebbe. And we've made
People
many
also
Hasidim.
people picked up like different therapists or mahalchim from this, and they built on it. It's not like this is the answer. It's not like you come to Coach Menachem and you're cured. No, not at all. Coach Menachem is like the first drop that spreads, like like a pure ocean, pure water, and then you drop a little thing, makes that ripple effect. We create the ripple effect. And where people go with it, that's their avodah. Some people go very far with it. Some people go different. Some people have new rebbeim. Some people have different shum. Some people have different therapies they go to, different modalities they've tried.
And then it helped me personally, talking about sitting here every Sunday night. I always tell people they don't have to show up every Sunday
Somebody
night.
just wrote me. I bought. We had Rabbi Danishevsky. He's very popular now in Chicago. He came on once. I listened to Shir. I bought his book. I learned so much about the connection and attachment to God. He's amazing. They grow with it. You know what I mean?
Right. So going back to myself, sitting here every Sunday night and listening to new ideas and new concepts.
For Rabbi Freedman, I heard about psychedelics.
Wait, I'm in the middle of talking.
One second. I heard about psychedelics in this program. It was cool the first time, and it changed my life. You see?
He heard it from Dr. Freedman.
No. But let's ask a practical thing. I mean, you guys do these nice little surveys while we're talking, right? So you say, what percentage of people heard Dr. Freedman endorse psychedelics for recreational practice at a Pesach program somewhere down in Costa Rica with a guy that became from 6 years ago? Okay. And hopefully that was not something that I just endorsed, because I would never do that. But you guys do these nice little surveys, right? Okay.
Yep.
I would wonder if you guys did some metrics and you were able to follow up with people that participated and said, listen, as a result of this specific share, did you engage in this kind of behavior, that kind of behavior? And it wouldn't be, again, Google Analytics, but I think it would be an interesting thing to do. And the field of psychiatry has started to do a much better job with this as well, because psychiatry is a very gray science by nature. There's no blood tests by nature, although that's starting to change. There's no brain scans by nature, although that's starting to change. But the more we know about trends, even if we can't get perfect data, I think that it really informs us, and it would allow us to think about how to best use various media to support the community and to improve the community, to improve access within the community to certain necessary resources, whether, again, those were Torah, Hasidus resources, or whether those were therapeutic or health-related tools and services required in the community. Is that something that we've looked into, Rav Asher? I mean, I know that's kind of a techie type question, but I don't think it would be that difficult, because, again, look at the data you guys have just in terms of repeat viewers, in terms of folks who are on the email list, which has grown over time. I'm curious what you guys are tracking besides trying to figure out what data you can sell to local pizza delivery places.
Well, the people that listen to Coach Menachem, I'm sorry for the pizza delivery places. Okay, bottom line.
Put the polls on. Maybe it's going to help Dr. Freedman.
Okay, we're going to take a poll. We're doing tonight's non-conventional because we have the psychiatrist in the house. Unmedicated. So here we go.
No, but this is a serious question. I'm wondering, what are you guys tracking?
First question of the poll. Let's
see.
No, because this is going into the topic we're going into now. In your community, how is taking medication for mental health typically viewed? 4 answers. This is after 6 years of Coach Menachem, so I'm curious. Number 1, is taking medication accepted? B, is it tolerated quietly? C, it's judged negatively? Or 4, it's never talked about. In your circles, how you view it. Second question. Which of these weighs on your mind the most during the week? Relationship stress, financial pressure, not feeling enough, fear of failure. Third question. Do you think people in your community feel safe being honest about mental health? Number 1 answer is yes. Number 2 is somewhat. Number 3 is no. Number 4 is not sure. Everybody answer those polls, Rabbi Freedman, and you're going to see a lot of interesting data over here that you could really break down in your analytics, and we could really see what the heck is going on.
Okay, but let me ask you an interesting question as we're doing this, Rav Asher, which would be, what if you had asked this the first time that I came on 3 or 4 years, 3 years ago, 4 years ago? You know, where would we be then? And what if you had asked this 5 years ago when you guys first started? You know, those would be interesting questions to track, to see, you know, what has changed as you guys have been engaged in fighting the stigma of mental health, in normalizing the challenges that we go through, and in terms of just encouraging people to live healthier, happier lifestyles.
Interesting. Okay, let's share the poll. You ready?
Is that a fair question, Usher? I
Fair,
mean, think
yes.
about this
No,
idea.
no, it's definitely a fair question. I think the
Yeah.
problem is that I think you're not understanding is that there's no concrete data, because it's not like they come on and the cure has happened. This is like an evolving process. There's people that have come on for years just to get chizuk without doing any movement, and then they'll do movement. There's people that are just coming on during a heart to kufa. It's a lot of people that come on. They told me I listened for 2 years. I was going through things, and now I'm good. Like, I'm not into it anymore. I moved on from it. That's good also. So there's people that are going in different, people that are coming to Coach Menachem in general are people that are trying to either grow, they're trying to be self-aware, or they're going through a lot of deep pain. And they need a place to hold it. They need a place to discuss it. So those are the general people. People that are not in that zone. I'm not saying they don't come on, they have a speaker, there's something they like, but they're not like into it. This is like a very strong self-growth platform. That's the way.
What percentage of folks are here every single week, you know, or even 2/3 of the time, because we figure that somebody had a bris and they had to drive somewhere else, obviously not at nighttime,
And just
you can't
remember,
do that.
the small audience is Sunday night. This is the small audience. The big audience is afterwards. There's no way for me to know if they listen to Spotify. They don't. But from the people that I know, they usually listen to it throughout the week when they have time. There's times it doesn't work. It's not a 5-minute program. It's not a 10-minute. It's not like a story. You can like listen to it. Like, it's something that you need to like a little put that concentration. The average program is 2.5 hours, and a lot of them are deep. I would say almost every program we had here could be almost write a half a book on it.
Certainly, and I want to hear about Coach Menachem's book coming up in a sec. But here's an interesting analogy. Even though Alcoholics Anonymous, by definition, is a program that is anonymous, by definition, right? Even though it's a program whereby most people who go to meetings do not go to the exact same meeting every single day for their entire life, because even if they are daily meeting goers, people move, people have changes in their job and their work schedule. There have still been large studies looking at people and their engagement in AA meetings over time. So it would be an interesting thing, and you guys could do this just based on posting things at the bottom of the Spotify link, or posting things at the bottom of the YouTube link, and just encouraging people to go down and follow whichever link to a survey, and seeing over time how people's perceptions change. Listen, if you guys get like a psychology intern, or that's a fun thing to have them do, or just some board analytics guy that wants to play around with it and get some free advertising,
Anybody
got to be at least
out there? Anybody out there that does it, please reach out, coachmenachem@gmail.com, and we'll get the numbers rolling. Dr. Freedman, what do you do when a client comes in to see the progress of a client from day one, and to see if it's actually working or not?
That is a great question. I'm really glad that you turned it around on me. So first of all, I encourage my patients to bring in their loved ones to appointments. And even if the loved ones just will sit out in the waiting room for them, a lot of times that's important to gather collateral information to actually understand what's going on with the patient in their environment. Because in my office, even if we do long appointments and long initial evals, which could be an hour and a half long, depending on what's going on, or even longer, depending on how complex the situation could be, I have no idea what the person looks like outside of my office. So having collateral information, and not just from other clinicians, but from mom, from dad, from a sister, from an adult child, from a spouse, can be tremendously important in terms of confirming a diagnosis or the lack thereof. So this is absolutely critical. So we'll have, mom come into the first appointment, and then a year later, I'll say, listen, we haven't seen mom in forever. Why don't we have mom come back? or listen, your spouse hasn't come in 6 months. Why don't we give her a call and we'll see how she thinks things are going. So very frequently, I will check back in with collateral sources of information just to hear about how things are going, not from my perspective, not from the subjective report of the patient, but rather from their loved ones, who I think can allow us to triangulate and to have a better understanding of where things actually are. Another thing that I'll do is I will tell my patients once they've finished the work with me, whether for concrete practical reasons like they were an Eretz Yisrael for yeshiva for a few years and now they've went back to the States, or frankly because they've gotten better, please God, I will encourage them, listen, you did great work here as a Bacher Yossi. When you get engaged, come back and bring me a cigar and say Mazel Tov. Mechi, it's been a pleasure working with you. I know your wife is due in a few months. Why don't you come back and just let me know if it's a boy and there's a bris, or if it's a girl and there's going to be a kiddush. And because your name is Mechi and it's Yerushalayim, I better get flesh. So however it's going to work out, I'll encourage people, just drop in, doors open, come say hi. Don't bring a weapon, please. We have, a no weapons policy in the office, aside from my nunchucks. So these are the kind of things that I can do, and it's not particularly scientific, but we'll give it a shot. In the same sense, there are some scientific metrics that I will use as part of the treatment. So, for example, there's the PHQ-9, which is a health questionnaire, and it looks at various symptoms of depression, and it allows us to test about as objectively as we can if a patient's depressive symptoms are improving over time. There are also screening questions for substance use, for anxiety, for OCD, for schizophrenia, and it can be quite useful in certain cases where the diagnosis is a bit complex, or where we're not sure exactly what treatment path to take, for us to measure it with a research-based objective protocol and screening questions. So I hope that gives us some information.
Then there's a concept that I think it's a good idea to talk about. When you have a client, let's say for a few weeks or maybe longer, and they claim that they don't see any results. And sometimes it's something that they have a hard time seeing any positives, any movement. And you as the therapist you're surprised because you see the changes. So
again, that's a great question. I'm reminded of a young fellow that I actually met with last week. And when he first came in, he told me, it's all doom and gloom. I hate my life. I have nothing positive in my life. I don't get along with anybody. I have no energy, and my brain is in a fog. Great. So I actually wrote those things down in quotes as part of his initial intake. So when he came back about 6 months later, and he said, my life is blah and it's fine, and I don't have as many friends as I wish I had. And I said, so it sounds like things are headed in the right direction. And he says, what are you talking about? And I said, well, the first time it was doom and gloom, and my brain is a fog, and I have no friends. But it turns out that now things are, by your own description, headed in the right direction. So the combination of really writing down what we understand from the patient's mouth itself, to using objective rating scales to check and analyze their symptoms, and getting collateral information from loved ones, from rebbes, from educators, whoever it might be, allows us to track process over time. And again, it's not perfect. You know, it's not like I'm a personal trainer checking somebody's weight over time, or I'm a cardiologist checking their blood pressure over time. But I think that we have to do the best with what we're given. And again, psychiatry is admittedly quite a gray science compared to gastroenterology or pulmonology or one of the other ologies that has more objective examination tools for figuring out functioning.
Do they accept what you're saying? I could hear the difference because you're using his words, but if he's still walking around feeling no purpose, no life, you know, I thank you very much, therapist. You're showing me that it changed, but how long do I have to go with this? How long will this last? I don't see any difference. I don't see any change. And what does it help if he doesn't feel it or see it?
That is a very, very fair question. And I will encourage you to somehow schlep Dr. Martin Seligman onto the podcast, onto Coach Menachem at some point. Dr. Seligman is the positive psychology guru who gives all sorts of wonderful talks and does fantastic research on learned helplessness initially and then subsequently learned optimism. So one of the things that he talks about in his famous TED Talk that is worth watching for most folks, I would say, is how psychiatry has historically been about relieving misery, but it hasn't been about promoting positivity, engagement, meaning, and all sorts of other important things that actually give us a good life. It just takes away a bad life. So psychiatry historically is about helping the suicidal patient to be unsuicidal, about helping the depressed patient to be not depressed, about helping the anxious patient to be not anxious. But it doesn't facilitate thriving. It just facilitates surviving. And that is a very fair criticism of psychiatry. What I would say is that a lot of times our work is about stabilization, and then we can engage in the therapeutic process of complete healing. A lot of times my patients will come in and we get them to 85, 95%, and they'll say, it's pretty good, but it's not great. And I'll say, well, now you can actually find out what the purpose of life is and actually figure out your dreams. And this can be quite a powerful thing for folks. And there's certainly still a role for psychiatry in terms of maximizing one's potential, even though it's historically not been used for that, again, based upon various new data, exercises, and what psychiatry and psychology in many ways was originally supposed to be about, which was about maximizing our potential. It just so happened that, antidepressants, for example, antipsychotics, mood stabilizers, basically steady out a person in order to do the work that they have to do. They don't actually cure anything, and they don't give a person, again, meaning or engagement or fix one's relationships. What they do, antidepressants, antipsychotics, mood stabilizer, anti-anxiety drugs, what they do is they allow a person to be in a place where they're stable enough, where they are actually neurologically, chemically, physically able to do the work required to do their best and to refix their relationships, to develop good habits, to pursue the things that they find meaningful in their lives.
Interesting. Is that only by psychiatry? I'm wondering if people say the same thing also by therapy.
Well, that's a fair one. Psychiatry and psychology, I think, have a bit of a false dichotomy where they're viewed separately. But I would say that psychiatry and psychology are about figuring out what's happening in a person's life that is causing dysfunction, about coming up with a evidence-based plan to correct that dysfunction, and then at that point, moving a person towards the healing process of achieving their potential. So I work very, very closely with a number of exceptional psychologists, social workers, coaches, personal trainers, dietitians, primary care docs, and Rabbanim. And I see us as a team. I don't think that it's either or. You know, as I've said before when I've been on the program, if you come into my office, there's a 100% chance I'll tell you to work on your sleep hygiene, exercise daily, eat a healthy diet, get sober. And there's about a 95% chance that I will encourage you to engage your family and your loved ones and your community. Therapy, probably 75 to 80% of people, I will refer them or encourage them to continue with a therapist. And about 50% of people will have a risk benefit discussion of the pros and cons of psychiatric medicines. And as part of that, we'll think also about what are reasonable expectations for psychiatric medicines. You know, taking a stimulant isn't going to help an uninterested bacher to find the geschmack in learning Gemara 3 Siddharim a day. It might allow him to sit through shir as opposed to getting slapped by a Rebbe, and that's important. You know, an antidepressant might allow a frustrated, overwhelmed father to be more present with his kid, but it's not going to fix his relationship with his wife. A mood stabilizer will allow a person to stay out of the hospital, but it isn't going to give them a job and engage them with their estranged family. So medications can be life-saving, certainly, and it's very, very important grease on the wheels in order to schlep the wagon up the hill for many people. But we have to have reasonable expectations. And as part of that, also just understanding that SSRIs, the standard class of antidepressants for the treatment of anxiety, for the treatment of depression, these take 4 to 12 weeks to really start to kick in most folks. And with that in mind, you know, showing up at the doctor's office and coming in, taking an antidepressant, and then showing up in 4 weeks and saying, why am I even here? This is a waste of time. It's not doing anything. The answer is, yeah, I told you it's going to take months for this to kick in. There are a lot of other things you got to do. You got to start exercising every day. That works today. You got to start sleeping better. That works today. You got to stop drinking. That works today. So it's really about providing realistic expectations, making sure that the family is on board with that, that the support network is on board, making sure that the person is really galvanizing their support network, that the community is available as well, and that resources in the community are there. I know every time we do this, we always put in a plug for Kanfei Fega, which is a great community organization out by you guys in Lakewood that is there to support families, both in terms of normalizing the process of these challenges and also at home, just making sure the kids have lunches packed and whatnot. But we have to allow folks to not feel that things are going to get better like this, because the only thing that's going to happen like this is Mashiach. And while it's definitely a messianic process to watch people get healed from severe mental illness and from addiction, in terms of the level of geula that individual and their family perceive. It's nothing short of miraculous. But allowing people to understand that it's going to be a process is what keeps them in it, because otherwise they drop out. You know, how many people have we heard about that say, you know, I took this medicine for a week and it didn't do anything, so I stopped it. I went to therapy and I tried it and it didn't work for me, so I stopped. How many times did you go? 2. So it's about understanding it. Again, we would say the same thing by cardiovascular exercise. I was going to run the marathon, but it was too hard. How far did you get? I bought new shoes. Did you lace them up? No. So Lafum Sara Agra, like anything else, we got to put in our time. Fair?
Yeah. Okay.
I'm going to ask one of the questions that came in.
Let's finish with the polls. They're still up.
Okay.
What happened to your ceiling usher?
I'm on a different computer. Now you see the real
Man.
ceiling.
I'm telling you. All right. What happened to the polls? That's a fair question. We got 276 people and only 142 answered. I mean, why are folks so paranoid that they can't answer here? Or are we tracking their data and then selling it to the Chinese government?
Some people that are on the phone, they can't vote.
Ah, I hear. Okay. We won't hold it against anybody.
Menachem, where are you holding with the balls?
You could start.
You do it because I'm in the middle of my computer's middle of studying.
Okay, so here we go. Let me share the results.
Here we go.
Sharing the results. So let's see. Question number 1. In your community, how is taking medication for mental health typically viewed? So we have 25% it's accepted, 38% it's tolerated quietly, 15% it's judged negatively, and 21% it's never talked about. So we're not comparing it to anything, but I think we've come a long way.
Yeah, that's over 50% of people who have a safe understanding, I would say, of this, because nobody wakes up and says, "Yay, I'm going to go ahead and start taking psychiatric medicines." So, in general, it's a topic that people aren't excited about. We're not asking, what percentage of people feel safe ordering sushi. This is, by definition, a challenging and a mystifying subject. So the fact that over half of folks feel that, listen, the community basically understands that folks who need to take this medicine or these treatments, they got to do it. That's not bad compared to, I think, where things were in the past. We only have 15% of folks that say that it's judged negatively. Now, again, obviously, this is a bit skewed because we have folks who are open-minded and who are health conscious and trying to live their best lives, which is why they're engaged in the programming. But I think that this is good data. I would wonder if we had a similar question again from 4 or 5 years ago, where it would be in terms of the change. So,
Right.
4 or 5 years from now, maybe you'll ask the same exact question. We'll see what we get.
Okay. Question number 2. Which of these weighs on your mind the most during the week? The challenges that you're walking around with. Number 1 is relationship and stress. That's 33% are walking around stress with the relationship, 21% financial pressure, 26% not feeling enough, and 20% fear of the future. So people are walking around with a lot of stress.
Yeah, I would wonder what percentage of people are feeling all of these, and what percentage of people have financial pressures due to relationship stress and relationship stress due to financial pressures that cause them not to feel enough and then be worried about the future. So I think that stressed people are going to also find what to be stressed about, and not stressed people are going to be hard pressed to be stressed. So this again is a bit of an interesting question, but it definitely brings up things that I'm sure you see in your practice, Coach Menachem, which is that if we're looking for things to really allow the cycle to spin in our head and make us nervous and confused and frustrated and have it be tough to go to bed at nighttime, there's no shortage of things. Whereas if we're in a good place, I have the koach to deal with my wife yelling at me, with the bills I got to pay, and the fact that sometimes I'm not as engaged in the community as I wish I could be. But you know what? I got the koach. Hashem's got my back, and the future is going to be okay.
Yeah. So that's a good question. Maybe we'll talk about it soon, to know when is it okay to feel that way, or when is it time to reach out and get the assistance needed. So okay, maybe we'll talk about it. Question number 3. Do you think people in your community feel safe being honest about their mental health? 3% say that they feel safe. 28% somewhat. 64% no, and 5% not sure. So there is a big number that's not, they don't feel safe talking to others about their mental health issues.
So the first
Well,
question where it shows how the medications in the community is being viewed, that was more paragraph. But this about being open about it is much more, the item was much more like you can't be open about it. So
With
people take
others.
medication, seems like they're okay with it. Like, oh, okay, you're taking medication. But to talk about openly about mental health, that I'm suffering from something, it seems so polar opposite of 1 and 3.
No, I'm not as dark on this. I would wonder if we replaced on this question mental health with finances or true level of Yiddishkeit. What would be the percentage of people that feel safe of being honest about their financial situation? Yay, credit card debt. What percentage of people in the community feel safe being honest about their shalom bias? What percentage of folks in the community feel safe talking about how many of their sons are in Waterbury, Ras Hashem, actually learning good, real, authentic Yiddishkeit with Rabbi Kalish Shlita? These are tough questions. And the question that I would ask is, who do you feel comfortable being honest with? Are you honest with yourself? That's the most important thing. Are you honest with your spouse and your parents or your kids or your siblings? That's really important. With your Rebbe, with your Rebbitzin, whoever your spiritual guide is. Those are the important questions. We don't need people to walk around with a shirt that says, I have mental health problems. That's not healthy for anybody. We need folks who are experiencing challenges to get the help that they need. And if they are people that we can support in a non-judgmental, loving, and practical fashion, then we need to know who they are in our lives so that way we can be there for them. But I don't know that this has to be broadcast in the same way that I don't know that anybody's financial shalom bias or other private issues need to be broadcast. Now, there are some wonderful heroes and great people, Hashem should bench them, that have talked about their experiences with trauma, that have talked about their experiences with addiction, that have talked about their experience with shalom bias challenges or with mental health in the community. There's a wonderful fellow here in Eretz Yisrael named Rav Shalom Hammer that talks about how his daughter died from suicide, and he does tremendous work educating the community. I have a colleague, a friend who's a very beloved person to me, that has now started talking about how he's close to 20 years sober from drug use, and he's a Rosh Hashiva and a wonderful person, Rav Shmuel Luger, Shem Shabenshim, and he's really been inspiring a lot of people by talking about in the community his struggles with trauma and with addiction. So there are some amazing people that have done this, but I think it's a calculated thing anyways, and it's not necessarily up for us to say everybody should talk about this and be honest about this in the community as much as folks have to be honest about it with themselves. So I wonder if we ask this question in somewhat of a different way, how this might end up.
Okay, let's go to the live question, okay? People want to ask.
Sure, sure. Wait. Can I hear about Coach Menachem's book?
In a minute.
Because we don't get too many books here in Eretz Yisrael, and the Secret burned most of the bad books. So I want to know, if this is a book that should be burned, if it's a book that should be read, and what's it about, and just let me just hear about it for like exactly 29 seconds plus or minus 17 seconds, depending on whether it's not.
Maybe you could give me a
Let,
scum. Somebody asked me to have a
okay.
scum.
L'chaim, you have a skama.
So here's the book. It's called Come Home to Yourself.
Come home to myself. I hear. Who else am I supposed to come
The
home to?
journey from survival, silence, and self-abandonment to inner peace and presence.
Okay, pretty cool. Pretty cool. Let me see the picture again so that way we can make it into a Rorschach exam. Okay. Does this guy live in the woods? Like, does he live on a mountaintop? How's he coming home to himself?
He's
This guy is
slowly finding himself.
Okay,
Oh, he's
Jacob,
finding
let's get some questions in because we're running short on
fine,
time.
fine.
I love
fine.
chit-chatting, but we have to take care of tacos now. Bottom line, people need help.
Okay.
Can you unmute? Hi,
When's your
you're
book
on.
coming
How are
out?
you?
When's your book coming
Hello.
out? When's your book coming
Hi,
out?
how are you?
Hi, Baruch Hashem. Good. Thank you. Thank you so much for your beautiful program. Thank you, Dr.
you.
Freedman. I had a question. Just hearing about, how people coming for treatment and then starting on medications is just to get them to this baseline where they can be open to, they can, like, how I understand it, get their nervous system to a place that it can be settled enough to actually learn more skills and tools to help themselves, and also build healthy habits for their mental health and overall well-being, healthy eating, exercise, etc. But I find that there's a very big contrast between like the healthy living therapeutic community and our Jewish community. So on one hand, you're learning, the science, the real facts, the data that exercise can significantly improve your mental health and how much what you eat affects you. And then, you show up at the Shabbos event or you show up at the shir and there's, cake all over the table. And, maybe the people who are super into, not super into it, but it's kind of like, there's almost like a stigma for people who are into focusing on their health within the Jewish community that I sometimes feel. And so I'm just curious if you have any suggestions on how to help someone like kind of integrate this healthy way of living and this mindset into their life and still feel like involved and part of the community and not like this kind of like outsider. It's as if like they're two separate worlds happening, two separate, I don't know the right way to phrase it, but like just
I think the question of what she's asking is basically in our society, the food mahalach is
Meat boards.
right. Basically, our mahalach is like diabetes, cholesterol, weight, and it's also very bad for your mood and all that. At the same time, that's the way it is. But every bris, by every kiddush. So how do you socially try to like work on that? I think that's basically her.
Let's talk about something even more sinister. Let's talk about kiddush clubs. Really, let's talk about kiddush clubs and how Rabbi Twersky Zatzal said that many people in our community with alcoholism have their first drink as a preteen or a 13, 14-year-old kid at kiddush club, and how all the cool kids, meaning the 24-year-old hard money guys, are drinking fancy liquor. And of course, if you're a 14-year-old kid, you're going to want to go and take a shot with them. And they might even give it to you. And modeling is really important. We don't always get to pick our role models. Sometimes they're picked for us, because when the gvir of the community gets $5,000 worth of expensive alcohol and makes a big kiddush and everybody is taking l'chaims, of course you're going to want to be a part of that, because that's what cool people do. So we have to be very, very aware of who we are promoting and of what sort of culture we're promoting. Now, obviously, if we have quinoa at the Kiddush, everybody's going to run away. But I think that we can be a bit more health conscious.
I'll
I
ask her a
think that
question
we
better. Ask
can.
her a question better. We complain all day the kids are bouncing off the wall of ADHD. In every school, how do we incentivize the kids to do well? We give them tickets to get soda cans, nash, and sugar. So you give them all the stuff, then they bounce off the wall, and then you like put the kid on medication.
Yeah, it's very fair. I really am a big believer that we have much to do in terms of being more health conscious. Can we maybe recommend two possible shirim for the future? One would be a personal trainer type person about practical ways to do a bit more exercise
We did we
throughout the
did we did
week,
we
and
did we
then
did we did 2 programs on that.
well, I'm not paying attention to all the stuff that you're doing
You
because
ask
I'm
all the
already
data,
woke.
you ask
I'm
all the
already
questions,
woke. I'm
but you
already
don't.
woke to
Whoa,
this
whoa, whoa,
stuff.
whoa, whoa! You come here, you have a million questions, grilling me on data, but you don't watch anything.
That's why I was
Of
asking.
course, I don't watch stuff. I'm too busy catching up on Living L'Chaim or on one of your main competitors. What can I say?
FYI, Tibbet, this lady that was just on asking this question, she's a personal trainer.
Yeah, okay, good. So here's what I would say. She should go ahead and make a bunch of one-page graphics and shoot them out throughout the community about how to add a bit more exercise to your day, to your week, to your month. I would say the same thing for a dietitian, not to get into the weird functional medicine quackery, but how can we eat a bit healthier and how can we uh, offer healthier alternatives. I would say that every day, in my office, I have the opportunity to go to the French pastry place, which is pretty intoxicating as far as desserts are concerned, or I can go ahead and bring in cut vegetables. So I try to bring in a bunch of carrots cut up, cucumbers, tomatoes, and that way I have them as snacks throughout the day. And if I didn't get to do a bit of extra exercise, I have that available to me. So, modeling is important. We're in positions whereby people say, what does Coach Menachem do? What does Reb Usher do? And if we can live healthy lifestyles in the community, I think that it can have a big ashpa. You lost a ton of weight, Reb Usher. Like I saw you. I didn't even recognize you. I remember giving you a hug back in February, and I lifted you off the ground, almost put you through the ceiling. Maybe that's why your ceiling's busted. People are just like hugging you, smashing your head through the ceiling, and all of a sudden now you got to do shiput seat. Could
Correct.
be.
Okay, let's go to the next live question. Hi.
Hi, am I on?
Yes, you are.
That's me? Oh, okay. It's very interesting talking about timing, how I had totally forgotten about the lecture tonight, and then I came across it and literally right before the lecture. Sorry. I was crying to a friend because I suffer from debilitating anxiety. I've been through a lot of trauma, and I feel like I'm stuck in the head with the trauma, and I feel like it holds me back in so many aspects of my life. And I don't want to be like this anymore. I'm tired of this trauma in my head that controls me, and a lot of it's regards to health and serious traumas that I have been through. And I'm tired of struggling. And I guess I'm also tired sometimes of, I guess, growing up in the community, and it's always, you feel embarrassed to talk about it. You keep it inside. you know, but this anxiety controls me. It's like I'm so hyper focused on my health all the time, and I don't know what else to do sometimes. I do acupuncture and I see a chiropractor and I see craniosacral therapists and I work with energetic healers, but all my time is spent going to doctors or even alternative. And I can't get the focus of my health because of everything I've been through. I mean, I survived a
I
car.
think I don't want to cut you off, but what I want to say is that it's very inspiring to hear folks be honest again about the challenges that they're feeling, and it does take a lot of courage to speak about this in a public forum. But I think that this is a very critical thing because it allows folks out there who aren't brave enough to talk about the challenges that they're experiencing to know that they are not the only ones. And I think, frankly, it sounds as though you're working hard to engage with the various resources that are out there. Again, without going into the specifics of the specific challenges that you're experiencing, I do think there's a lot of wonderful organizations out there that do case management and referral services, whether it's Rabbi Babad, Rabbi Ornstein from Relief Resources, which is a fantastic one, whether it's Mask and Mrs. Clapman, or it's Rabbi Gluck and Amudim. There are organizations that provide culturally sensitive and confidential support, as well as having support groups that are more targeted and geared towards dealing with specific challenges. I know that for women, there's Chazkenu in our community that deals with specific mental health challenges. And I'd really encourage folks to engage with those resources and to find out more about these organizations that are out there to support folks. But my heart goes out to you, and I really hope that you find the healing that you deserve, because nobody deserves to hold on to this pain. And no matter the decisions we've made and the things that we've done in the past, Hashem is Kel Rachum V'Chanun. He wants us to be happy and healthy, and I really hope that comes to you b'cherafayin.
I hope so too. I mean, I've just been struggling for so long, and it's hard sometimes when you have all my siblings are all married. I'm the one who's not, because it's anxiety. It just controls my life. And I know that your body holds on to trauma at a cellular level. And I know my body holds on to it because of all the trauma I've been through. When you survive a car accident where you go off a cliff, 150-foot cliff, and then losing a parent at an early age, and it's just a lot. Things, health. And that's what I realized. And I literally, Hashem, Mamish, I was just had my phone in my hands and I saw the thing pop up, and I don't always do things at night because I'm tired from work. And then I saw you guys come on, and I'm like, I have to watch it. It was almost like it was getting a mamish message, because I was like, wow, like, talk about timing. And then I see you guys, and this whole
So
thing, it's been so inspiring.
one really big thing that I can say without knowing anything about the matzav is just how miraculous it sounds to go off of a 150-foot cliff. I mean, there are people who fall down one stair and they give up. There are folks who their shoes come untied and they go home for the day. I mean, to hear that you drove off of a 150-foot cliff, oh my goodness.
5 of us.
Don't text,
There were 5 of us in the
and you
car.
weren't even texting and driving. You weren't even texting and
No.
driving, and you're a Yosoima and you lost a parent. I mean, the resilience associated with hanging in there and staying in the game, still being a firm person, believing that the Eibishter is trying to help you. I mean, that's very, very powerful. And I would never minimize how good you're doing, based upon the fact that, you know, you're still trying, given everything that you've been through. So thank you so much
Thank
for
you.
sharing that. Yasher koyach.
Dr. Freedman, what would you,
Yeah, thank you.
you could send your name to Coach Menachem at gmail.com and we can daven him. It's Hashem. But Dr. Freedman, maybe you can help in people who do struggle with these thoughts, anxiety, and they
I
just
just want to
can't
pause for 1
depression.
second, Menachem. I just want to pause for a second. She brought out such a powerful point. Like people sometimes in life are just suffering from a certain pain or certain something holding them back. It's so powerful that people want to move forward in life. They want to be successful. They want to live a happy life. And we have to be honest. Some people, whether because of their traumas or because of they're born, the DNA, their mental capacity. And there's Baruch Hashem, there are medicines, there are doctors, and it's just a powerful person come on, just be so honest and just really want that. Just the wanting, the Ratzon, not living in the story that it's not fair. My parent died, I fell off a cliff, life is so miserable and angry. I just want to get over my trauma, I want to get healthy, I want to move on. It's so powerful. It's very powerful.
Can I just say that I think it's really cool that you have a picture. Hopefully that's you and your wife in the background, Rav Asher. I mean, you're in a basement that doesn't have a ceiling, but you got a picture of you and your wife. That's just
You
that is
you see
really
that
cool.
you see that you have a
is
choice.
dedication.
We always have choices of focusing where you focus. You can focus on the
Once
roof.
I put that picture, I didn't need to finish the ceiling.
I'm saying, and you got back to that skinny. Good for you. You got back to that skinny bucker age. Good for you.
Okay, so we need some
Also from
ideas.
trauma.
Okay, practical ideas, what folks can do when they're overwhelmed. Again, I am a big fan of engaging existing community resources. So you can always call Relief, Mask, Canfe Fega, Amudim. This is not to be a mute for any other organization. Forgive me again. I've been up since 3:30 in the morning, and I didn't get to Toivel, so my neshama still isn't thinking clearly. But engage these community resources that have dealt with hundreds, perhaps even thousands of people in our community with the same kind of story that you have, to figure out who is the right address for you to get an evaluation, to think about what are the right places and programs to be involved in, whether they are with doctors or with therapists, or even just support groups, as we've said. Some support groups being more formal than others, some support groups being 12-step programming, whether it's for the addict themselves, or if it's Al-Anon meetings for loved ones and for spouses of folks dealing with addiction, or whether it's programs like, again, Coach Menachem, that do a good job just of fighting the stigma and promoting healthy lifestyles in our communities. So I think that not being afraid to reach out, and as we said during the survey, being honest with yourself, being honest with your loved ones, being honest with your educators, with your spiritual guides. That's the beginning of it, because again, we don't have a solution unless we have a problem, and we don't have a problem unless we talk about it. So that's going to be a big part of it, is starting the process of really self-reflection and just saying, I got to go home. I know that I'm right now stuck between two mountains, and the sun is either coming up or going down, depending on how we want to interpret the book cover, Coach Menachem. But I got to go home. Where's my home?
You want to go to another live question, Doctor?
We got time for one more before I gotta go say hi to the Abisher this morning.
Okay. Hi, sorry, Jan.
Hi, Dr. Freedman. I was just wondering though, the situation where somebody, may have gone through a lot of trauma, or the proverbial crazy family situation, but they also have their own problems like learning disabilities or whatnot. Um, I don't know if is in your experience, do they overlap or they call? It's like the chicken or the egg question. Someone's distorted thinking could maybe invite, dysfunctional situations or abuse, or and I have friends, unfortunately, I know people that went to therapy when their thinking was not in the right mind, the thinking was off to begin with, and they might misread or misinterpret what the therapist is saying, and so I was saying, like, I've been guilty of it myself, but I've also seen it with other people. I don't know if you deal with certain, cognitive deficits, anything like that. I don't know how you would handle it's like a double whammy almost.
I think you're asking a very important question here, which is how can cognitive limitations and challenges that folks have neurologically impact their experience on a day-to-day basis and perhaps affect or put them at risk for developing mental illness down the road. I'm a big fan of getting proper cognitive testing from a neuropsychologist, perhaps from a neurologist as well, when there are known or suspected cognitive issues in order to figure out how a person's specific learning strengths and learning limitations could impact positively or negatively of the therapeutic process. Knowing what are the goals, knowing what are the expectations based on an individual's cognitive assessment, I think can really have a powerful impact on the direction that we take therapeutically, and in terms of also just what sort of social resources might be available. Somebody who has memory challenges might do well with a supportive vocational rehab, or might do well with more check-ins in the home. Somebody who has difficulties with disorganization, it might be a big challenge for them to be medication adherent or to get to their appointments on time. So really understanding the neuropsychological strengths again and limitations that a person might have can absolutely influence the treatment and the resources that are offered to a patient and their family. So it's a great question. Yes, your koyach.
Dr. Freedman, can I see a cover of your book? Which one are you
You
going to
can
show
see a
us?
cover of all the matzah I was supposed to eat. I was supposed to go ahead and eat all of this on Pesach Sheni. I got to wait for Pesach Shlishi now. What do I got here?
Dr. Jacob, how many more minutes do you have left?
-3.
Okay, so let's wrap it up. Okay, Dr. Freeman, when you come on, everybody should just know Dr. Freeman Davins was seeking every day. So when he comes on, we do it at specific times when it's the latest Vasikin, so he can speak as long as possible, and limits us only to like an hour and a half. So we really appreciate Dr. Freeman coming on, and thank you for giving the tremendous chizik. Again, it's just an open conversation. It's just very, people want to know what was tonight. Sometimes we take on a topic. Today was just, it was light in one sense until the questions came in. But just if you're feeling something, you're struggling, just go find the therapist, get somebody, speak to a friend, go get the chizik you need. Nobody should sit and suffer alone. It's just not beneficial for you. And it's, we have enough resources, like Rabbi Freedman said. There's so many resources. Reach out to those resources. Again, tonight's share is share 231 every Sunday at 9 p.m. Next week, May 25th, we're going to have Menachem and Erev Shua share. The guest hasn't been confirmed, but hopefully please join us. This will be an amazing share, as they all are. Everything is recorded on menachembernfeld.com. If anyone has any questions, please email coachmenachem@gmail.com. And if anybody wants to listen to this on the phone, the number is 732-305-9011. Thank you to the Lakewood Scoop, Ellie Narriott on 510 Central, and Chad Kaufman from JCN. I'm going to go to the close. I just want to say, Dr. Freedman, it's always a pleasure to have you on. And talking openly about mental health that we're holding now 6 years later from when we started, we feel there's been a tremendous shift in the world. But even though we made a tremendous shift, people have to just be honest with themselves and get healthy. And you know something, people think like even healthy people are not healthy. Even people that are doing well have struggles and they have to work through them, whether it's with chaverim, whether it's with self-introspect, whether it's with medication. People could be normal, they're going through serious depression, or somebody's dying and they just need mood stabilizers, or they need anti-anxieties or antidepressants. This is part of the life world we live in. So be honest with yourself. Doesn't mean you're kukuluku. It doesn't mean you're a crazy person. It means you have deep emotions and you have feelings inside of you. You got to stabilize that. And it's robbing yourself of your own amazing life that you could have, like by not reaching out to these organizations or the people that Hashem put around you to reach out to. You know, every situation is different. Not everybody could reach Dr. Jacob Freedman. Menachem, you want to say anything?
You can find me. I'm pretty easy to recognize. I have
But
a
I'm
crazy
saying,
beard,
that
and I'm
you have
walking around in hiking
employment. Yeah, but I'm
boots,
saying it
and,
has to work. It has to work.
but I think that great people have challenges too, because everybody has challenges, and we shouldn't feel that going into treatment is going to change me and make me somebody different, and taking a medicine is going to make it so I'm not my real self, and going to therapy means there's something wrong with me. I would say that doing the therapeutic process is actually what restores me to being me. Medicines don't make me somebody different. Going to therapy doesn't change me, and now I'm not the person that I was, and I'm all messed up. Rather, the therapeutic process actually allows me to be the healthy person that I am naturally, and that healthy, beautiful, shined up neshama that I know I'm capable of being. You know, there's an amazing Nesivo Shalom from last week where he says, Fartam lachem. You know, what does this mean? He says it means that everybody is a sapir, everybody is a diamond. We just have to shine ourselves up. And the therapeutic process is what does that for people. And I wish everybody tremendous health. It's always a pleasure to schmooze with both of you. Coach Menachem, Yasher Koach on your new sefer. Reb Usher, Yasher Koach on getting down to the welterweight class, and Refuah Shalema to your ceiling. And I'll see you at Kesher Nafshi, I guess, in a short period of time. And everybody should be well and healthy.
Amen.
Good.
Thank you very much for coming tonight for the light schmooze with Dr. Jacob Freedman. Hashem will see you next week at Shavuos, and it's going to be an amazing share. I'm telling you now, so please join. Good night, everybody.